Ms. Ndlela. A warm welcome to Parliament, although I don't have to warmly welcome you to Parliament because you have been here many a times. You have been to this portfolio committee often. You are therefore a well-known face to all of us. So a very warm welcome to you. I don't know if you've been watching the interview, so you should know the process and you've gone through this before. We've got 40 minutes with you this morning or this afternoon. Each honourable member will be engaging with you. You will have about 3 minutes to respond to each member. If you're not sure whether you're going over your time, you can just look this way. I don't have a red card, but I'll give you an indication. So maybe just to start off with, I think it would be important for you, Ms. Ndlela, to this morning tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, but you are also a current board member, so what motivated you to want to reapply to serve again on the NYDA board? And maybe tied to that, what you can list as some of the successes during your tenure on the board. If you can just start there this morning.
Okay.
Afternoon.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to honourable members. My name is Thuliza Ndlela. I am born and raised in KwaZulu-Natal. Whenever I am asked to introduce myself, Chair, I naturally gravitate to where I was born. I was born and raised in the rural area of Impendle, just outside Maritzburg. I did most of my primary schooling there, and then obviously I went to the University of KwaZulu-Natal, did my first degree is in law and political sciences. My second degree would have been an honors degree in international relations, and then I recently did my postgraduate in finance, investment, and management and banking. This is, insofar as my academic background is concerned, I am, is indeed true, Chair, I am a member of the current NYDA board. Not sure whether to say interim, no, current, the arrangement that having been appointed in the last process. And principally, Chair, I am an entrepreneur. I'm a young entrepreneur. I run a company that operates in the port of Durban. We are a diving consulting contracting company, so we principally do diving work around the ships as and when we are required. So the name of the company is IGOBI Marine, so that is what I principally do every day. That is what I was doing yesterday. I couldn't watch yesterday. I did watch on the first day, but I couldn't yesterday because we had work. So hopefully things haven't changed much. So lastly, on why I would have felt the need to apply again, I think it's important for me to say that the NYDA board did a lot of work, because when we got in, we were a board that came in after a 15-month period in between the boards. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done institutionally instead of in terms of making sure. So it wasn't a simple handover. There was no handover from one structure to the other. So we then did a lot of structural work, and I do believe that we've stabilized the organization. We've gone through difficult moments, but we've stabilized the organization. And I felt it important to avail myself, if of course favored by the committee and the process, to be able to be that gap, to bridge that gap between the last board and the next board, insofar as institutional memory is concerned, and the ability to ensure that some of the things that had not been achieved, had not been we've not been successful in, are able to be carried through. So I do think it's quite important. And maybe just to highlight one of the achievements that me and my colleagues on the board hold as one of the significant achievements of this board is that we are the first board of directors in the history of the institution to have the integrated youth development strategy adopted by cabinet. And it's important to ask colleagues because what the IYDS does is it allows you to create a framework to implement everything else. So without the IYDS, you really aren't able to move forward from a policy point of view. And we're particularly proud because that work we did ourselves. When we got in, we didn't outsource to consultants. We did ourselves as this group of NYDA board members. We went and did consultations. Obviously, young people had a lot of input in it, but it wasn't work that we took and gave it to a consultant and say, you must run with it. So we're particularly proud about that. This is not the only thing, but I think just to give a highlight of what we are from a policy point of view, particularly proud about, I'd say that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndlela. Over to you, Honourable Shabang.
Thank you, Chair. And good day, Mr. Ndlela. My name is Fisani Shabangu. I'm the member of this portfolio committee. And we welcome you and we appreciate that you still want to serve in the NYDA. And we wish you well and we hope you will prove to this committee that you really want to serve in this committee.
Mama, just speak a little bit closer to the mic for the sign interpreters.
In your era as a member of the board, the NYDA did not receive a clean audit for the year 2024-2025 financial year. In your opinion, what role could the board have played to ensure that this did not occur? And thank you, Chair. That's my question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Honourable Shabang. The NYDA's, maybe let me just give a background to the audit finding of the Auditor General. It relates to the one item on accounts payables where the report could not give an aging analysis on the accounts payables. Now, what caused that in particular was around the changes that happened in that year. The NYDA has gone through a process of digitizing, which means we had moved from a one particular system into another financial system. This financial system that we had moved into was built in-house. We felt the need to limit the costs of money spent on licensing. So we took a decision to develop a system in-house, but that system was not well developed. There were glitches, but insofar as one area is concerned, which is the accounts payables. If you go through the management report, which I'm sure this committee is aware of the NYDA, there is no irregular spending, there is no fruitless spending, there are no findings made on procurement, there are no findings even made on performance information, meaning all the targets that had been set were able to be met. But the one issue on your financial records, the one particular aspect relates to the aging analysis on the accounts payables, which is why attracted and we take responsibility, honourable member, for that. We have, as a board of directors, following the audit outcome, we took a decision to implement consequence management, which had to start with us. And that consequence management meant some of our board fees, we took a decision that some of our board fees would be docked as a result of that, because simply, whether we understand the explanation or not, but the truth is we did not get a clean audit, and there must be consequences. There must be consequences from us, there must be consequences going down. So we have done that, but in order for us to be able to do consequences with the finance team, you needed to say, we as the drivers of the bus were caught off guard, and we needed to be able to deal with it. We understand the explanation. The explanation makes sense to us. We know what happened, and we have taken corrective measures of it, and we understand this to be a rather corrective issue. But the truth is there has to be consequences, and we have taken that. Thank you.
Polwani.
Thanks very much, Chair. Good afternoon. If it's afternoon, Mr. Ndlela. My name is Honorable Polwani. I'm a member of this committee. I'll go straight to the question. My question is, the National Youth Development Agency was established by the Act of the Parliament, which is NYDA Act of 2008. The Act was amended in the last year, 2024, Act number 11 of 2024. Could you briefly elaborate on how the function of the NYDA has changed since the amendment of the Act?
Thank you, Chair. The new Act as now amended, when the amendment process, when we got in the amendment process, had started, but it hadn't really moved as far as certification by the state law attorney. So we did have an input. What was important for us was to allow the NYDA to have ability to interact with other government departments and organs of state, insofar as them collaborating and being able to assist the NYDA further its mandate. Because we believe, and colleagues would know, that if you go through the history of youth development in this country, you would remember that there was a debate at some point at the collapse of Umsobomvu and the National Youth Commission of whether you needed to have a ministry of its own, of young people. And the decision taken back then was that youth development is not a function of a particular department. It is rather a collective effort of everyone. So which is why when you make a new act, you must then integrate the National Youth Policy, you must integrate the integrated youth development strategy, which was not there in the previous act, but you must also enable the NYDA to have the power, other than collaboration, to initiate its own research, commission its own research in order to answer pertinent questions that relate to whether giving ammunition to the NYDA to advance a particular message or to be able to lobby differently. So that function of being able to be allowed to be given your own research capacity was one that was very important in order for you not to rely on third parties, and also help create the framework that will allow for youth development to go forward. So basically, on a nutshell, it was allowing the NYDA to function better collaboratively with state-owned organs, but also with government departments and even the private sector and civil society.
Thank you, Mr. Ndlela. Honorable Tiamo.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and Dumela Raizu. Look, I have, my name is Tiamo Zodetsi, a member of this committee. I have the question which I want to ask in this fashion. One is a statement that is has been publicly canvassed around your NYDA. Now I'm asking because you are the sitting board member.
Yes, of course.
And this statement suggests you can either answer it or not, but it's the statement which drives a perception which says that you in the board, you are happy to conduct the NYDA work dressed up in your organizational regalias, and as a result, you are intimidating young people who are. You may want to answer it, but the main question, which you must now answer, is in the context of your mandate. what do you understand to be the shortcomings? And what are the innovative ways in which you are proposing as part of responding to these shortcomings? And what are the practical examples that you would give direct us to in as far as this question is concerned? Do you want me to repeat?
Only that last part, Honorable, through you, Chair. I got the first part, but my worry is when you say that last part, if you could just the last part of the question.
So first you point out to the shortcomings which you would have seen, the innovative ways in which you would put in place. The third one is, what is it that you can point out to that will give us a sense that those innovative ways are able to work?
Oh, thank you, Honorable Member. I think I think I got you. Look, I'm one of the first people to admit that the work of the NYDA, although commendable, has not scaled enough. We've got a scalability challenge, and the scalability relates to the availability of resources. When this board wrote a handover report, which we presented to this committee, we indicated that the difficulty you have with existing in 43 out of the 54 districts is that you've got to strike a balance between taking money to open an office and have presence everywhere, but you then have little money to be able to execute the work. So inextricably, you're going to end up having people who are in office, but without the resources to execute any function, because you prioritized your ability to be able to exist anyway. So the first challenge is scalability, which then requires resources. But we all know, Honorable Member seated here, our fiscal position, which means we've got to look for these resources elsewhere. And I think it's important for the NYDA to use its lobby mandate or its lobby powers to be able to engage, particularly with the private sector. Not for them, for them to say, look, some of the money that you hold in reserves. There is a study done by the Wits School of Business of the amount of money held in reserve by the top 40 JSE listed companies. It goes into the trillions. Now, this is not money that is sitting there as profits. I'm talking reserves. And you've got to be able to engage with private sector to unlock these reserves, because to them, it's important for them as well to have a stable economy so that their business continues to be sustainable. So it's not it's a win-win in a way, because if the business is successful, you are then able to have more young people employed, and if there are more young people employed, you are able to achieve what is called a democratic dividend. Because right now, although we've got the components of a democratic dividends, but we do not have it, and we mustn't sit here and present as if we do, because we do not. We have significant challenges, and that is what we need to do. And then, Honorable Member, the first part of your question, I reluctantly wish to respond to it by saying, and I must underscore that I'm very reluctant to respond to it. I wish to respond to it by saying, in this current board, if everyone who supported any political party were to wear their T-shirts in this current board, this board that we're in, it wouldn't be the same color. And because of that understanding, we have always been able to be tolerant of one another's political views, respect each other's political views, and we have grown a friendship. You know, there are people you don't know. You just know this one belongs to this political party, but as you work with them, you realize, no, man, this person is a young person, is an activist, is as committed to youth development as I am. And you grow a friendship beyond your views on a particular matter. So what is important is in the creation of a culture at the NYDA is that everyone's right to belong to a political party must be respected. But when it comes to work, young people, irrespective of the color of the t-shirts they wear, are young people and they are faced with the same kind of issues. And it's important for us to be able to respect it at that level, but also don't say people mustn't affiliate to a political party, but just not at work. Because at work we're affiliated to youth development and all of us have got a responsibility to deal with that. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Chalke Adonis.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to, I hope it's still morning, to our candidate, and wishing you all the best throughout this interview process. My name is Terofato Megan Chalke Adonis. I am a member of this Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Now, my question would be around the perception that the public has of the NYDA. Now, in your view, prehistorically, it has the NYDA amongst young people has had a very negative, reputation. Let me say. But now, my question to you would be: in your view, has this negative perception since your time in office changed? And if yes, perhaps you can give us practical examples or references as to how you have seen this. If not, can you tell us how you, going forward, if you were to be part of the NYDA board, you would ensure that you are able to improve on the public perception of the NYDA?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Member. I think the answer to this question is in twofold. As young people, when we took up the task, we were well aware of the perception around issues of you submit your business idea in the NYDA and then you don't get funding, and then a few months later a relative of a person who works in the NYDA is implementing your idea, and which is part of the things that led us in the innovation to implement what we call the ERP system, which is now a digital way of young people interacting with our services, which now means we are now able to track at what point did this person receive this service and at what point did this person, so there's no business plan now, there's no young person running around with a business plan, all you do, you register your profile, you come in and you are able to get business management training. And after that, you go for what is called a pitch. It is during the pitch that your idea, whatever idea you have in business, together with the business management training that you've been getting, are able to be fused in front of a panel. We normally work with our stakeholders. It's not only NYDA people, but we normally work with stakeholders at different areas in order to allow an official of SEDA to say, we as SEDA believe in what you are saying. We think this can work. And you then run through that process of acquiring funding. Now, how that has addressed the perception of stealing of intellectual ideas of people has really helped lower the negative perception. But I also want to say this, Honourable Member. If there are 10 young people in the room and the NYDA helps 3, the other 7 are not happy. It's not because the NYDA, someone has been corrupt or anything, but the truth is the other young people deserve to be helped. The 7 are not happy, and that's the truth. And that is a resource thing, when you look at our targets, we target to assist young people, provide them with grants, but we cannot target as we wish. We have to target as the budget allows, So so that's why I'm the first person to say to you, if the question is, have we done enough? No, of course we haven't. But have we done nothing? Of course not. So that's why I'm at a point where I say some of the perception is not going to be on the wrongs that are done. It's going to be linked to the inability of the resources to allow the NYDA to be present. So when a person from rural KZN says to me, we don't have an office of the NYDA, I take that. That is true. But like I explained earlier, it is really a catch-22. Until you're able to expand your resources, you really aren't able to get to everywhere you need to go. But it doesn't mean you mustn't try to be present and to maintain some form of presence. What is important with the little that you have, do it right, so that at least out of 10 young people, 3 will say, "I but mina bangisiza." Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Momo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good day, Mr. Ndlela. I'm Honorable Khweqana, also a member of this committee. Mr. Ndlela, the National Development Plan highlighted a need to address political administrative interference, which sometimes causes instability in the public service. Now my question, in your own opinion, has the NYDA experienced political interference in the administrative, and how was it dealt with?
Thank you, Honourable Member. We have not experienced it, Chair, but because we are young activists, we were alive to the possibility, and we know the history of the NYDA, colleagues. You know, when the NYDA started, it was known as a gravy train of a certain political party. Now, some of the things that caused that is you did not have what is called a proper delegation of authority between the board and the CEO and the rest of the management, and between the board and the minister. So in a delegation of authority, it's a document you sign between the shareholder, who is the minister in this case, together with the board, the accounting authority, and the accounting officer, so that it clearly spells out that this person does that, this person does that, this person does that. It now stops the people who are supposed to conduct oversight from being operational. Let me make an example, colleagues. There is an issue of the office of the chairperson of the NYDA requiring a budget. Typically, all budgets are approved by the board. So if the chairperson of the NYDA requires a budget, it means the chairperson will have to approve him or her own budget. But through the delegation of authority, you take that function, you put it to the Audit and Risk Committee, who by law, in terms of the Companies Act, must be a committee comprising of majority of people who are not in the board. So the chairperson must be an independent person, and the majority of the committee, so that you can have people who will look at this without saying, "Hey, Mara, the chair is my friend, let me try and assist," or not the chair to sit here and say, "I'm approving." So you've got to be able to understand the institution you are in. In this case, the NYDA requires a very strict delegation of authority regime, because if you are able to master that, everyone knows where to go, everyone knows what to do. There is now then no difficulty insofar as managing that. And the political interference, we are then able to deal with it from the side of the management. And then from the side of the minister as well, we really have had no political interference. It doesn't mean we sit and agree, Honourable Member. Ourselves and the minister disagree on a number of things. But because there is a delegation of authority, we know when we disagree on this, we must engage until we find each other. This is what we must do, and this is what the minister must do. So we are able to work together in a way, because it's clearly defined. So if I'm on the board, that would be my first advice to whoever leads the board, to say, listen, you need a strong delegation of authority. And even if I'm not, I hope this is recorded, you need a delegation of authority, a very strong one, in order for you to avoid any ambiguities. Thank you.
Thank you, Sompisi. Over to you, Honourable Lonzi.
No, thank you very much, Chair. My name is Sihle Lonzi. a member of the Portfolio Committee and Parliament deployed by the Economic Freedom Fighters. Thank you, Mr. Dlela, for re-availing yourself. I believe you are sitting in the current board.
Yes, that is correct.
And perhaps this question will be relevant to you as someone who would sit in this board, and I see on your CV on other boards. So when people speak about the King report on corporate governance, I think the one that is so fashionable to reference is number 4. But what a lot of people don't know is that King report on corporate governance is a development of one, which was, in 94, and then the early 2000s, 2, and then 3, then 4. So perhaps take us through. I want to get your understanding of the development of that particular document, because I think it informs a lot of the things that you'd be dealing with at a governance level. So please take us through your understanding of the development of the King report on corporate governance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lonzi. I hope I said it well, Lonzi.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Thank you, Chair. It's important to say a person's name right, especially when they can say Mr. Ndlela. Look, Honorable Lonzi, the rules on corporate governance, as per the King Committee, by the Right Honorable Gentleman Mervyn King, what they do is they are a guide to companies on how to deal with corporate governance. But the recent court judgments have said in South Africa, for public listed companies plus state-owned enterprises, they are no longer a guide. They are now have got the same effect as law. How this develops is when you hand over someone a company to run, you need to trust that that person understands their duty in relation to the shareholders and in relation to how the community they are in is going to be affected. Now, this change is what you would have seen in the versions from version 1, version 2, and almost in version 3. You would have had a shareholder-centric approach where the role of the board of directors is to make sure that they increase value for the shareholder. So the shareholder is almost like an alpha and omega. But when you go to number 4, the King Code 4, which is the current codes right now, I'm aware there is a King 5 is now up for public comments, but it hasn't been, for that process hasn't been finalized. But if you go to the IODSA website, you would find it for public comment. What the King 4 did, it moved away from what you would call a shareholder, a primacy kind of regime into a stakeholder understanding, where to say the value is not just to the shareholder anymore. It's now to the stakeholders, which may include your workers, if it's a private company, which may include the surrounding community of a university where the university exists. Like in the case of the University of KwaZulu-Natal, it exists within a particular community. That university, when it reports in the integrated report, it must not just report on its effect to how much it has acquired and how much money it has increased for the shareholder, but it must also respond onto its activities here. How has these activities affected the broader community it surrounds in? What is the environmental impact of a particular plastic manufacturing company into the work? So in relating to the NYDA, it really helps us, if you apply King 4, to not only look at the numbers. You know, colleagues, we come here and we show you the numbers. We say to you, we've funded this amount of people, and we do so because we are required by law to come and give you the numbers, because when the financial year starts, we show you the numbers. But when the financial year ends, we need to come and say, what we said before ties up to this. But honorable members also know there's something that this committee does called oversight visits. There we are not showing numbers. There we are taking you to a human being and saying, here is a young person, we have assisted with this, this is the business. So we're now doing what? Impact. Now it's no longer about numbers, it's impact. And I'm aware we were supposed to do it at the beginning of January, end of January, it couldn't happen. I'm sure we are going to do it soon. I've been made aware that it's going to come to KZN, if I'm not mistaken, very soon. So there we are taking you, Honorable Loans, by hand and saying, here's a person. It's not a number, this is a person, and they tell you their story and they show the equipment if you bought equipment. So then it's more of a stakeholder impact on the kind of work that we do. So this is the changes, the evolution throughout the years that has allowed where we are today. And obviously with King 5, we shall wait and see where we are going.
Thank you, Sompisi. Dr. Leklape.
Where are we?
Okay.
We have an esteemed candidate all over the place.
Good governance.
Eh?
Good governance.
Good governance.
Yes.
Okay. Let's say we're going to talk about good governance with you. And my name is Khosi Letapi.
Yes.
Full name is Khosi Itzile.
Khosi Itzile.
I hope you'll try
I'll
that.
say figure.
I'm an alternate member.
Yes.
Now, since it's on governance, I'll just follow on what you've just told us about King 3, King 4, imminent King 5. And the fact that when it comes to state-owned enterprise are dealt with like commercial companies. In terms of the NYDA, having a component where you're giving grants, you're now giving loans, does that change the nature of the company? Are you now a trading company? Because when you give loans, people have to pay you back. Where would you be governed now? Would it be PFMA that has preference? Would it be King Code that has preference? Would you be a hybrid? And just in addition to that, you've spoken about the delegation of authorities. It should be a governance document separating or guiding the issues of an executive chair. Do you think it is advisable to continue with a chair that is executive going forward? Or is there potential for governance challenges as you go forward? Because you don't want to write rules for the presidency that are written for Mandela and then Trump comes along.
Thank you very much, honorable member. I think the important thing is maybe let me just give a bit of a correction. We don't give loans now. It's the other way around. We used to give loans when we were Schedule 1. We are now a Schedule 3. We don't give loans, we give grants. So we are indeed, we function differently. Because as a Schedule 1 PFMA company, you would have, we were alongside your IEC, your demarcation boards and stuff like that. But now we have moved to Schedule 3, which has its limitations, which include the fact that we can't go to the capital market and raise, because we're not like ESCOM, who are Schedule 2, who can go on the capital market and raise funds, which is why none of the solutions and the ideas that I came with include going to the capital market to raise funds, because by law, a Schedule 3 cannot do that. We don't have the borrowing capacity, which also means we can't be given a bailout, because our debt can't be guaranteed, which is why we don't have any debt. So we are governed slightly differently because of that. It's true, our business has changed, but it has changed to the other way, as the honorable member was suggesting. We were not going the other, but we're still part of PFMA. Every state entity, if you are in municipality, it's called MFMA, but when you handle taxpayers' money, you've got to be able to be aligned, with the proper handling of public finances. And then the second part to your question, this matter was debated, actually, if I'm not mistaken, in this very room. It must be in this room, on whether you must have an executive chair or not. And the historically, when you go to what the NYDA's decision was at the time of taking it there, the still conditions remain the same, in the sense that you need, on top of oversight, but you need activism. So the NYDA board is not just an oversight board only. It also must have an element of activism. You've got to be able to have an element of activism and agitation and lobbying and nagging and being on the throat of government officials, being on the throat of the private sector, highlight the crisis that the young people are facing on a daily basis. Now, you can't do that if you only come once every 3 months, a quarter, to approve and monitor and evaluate the already approved strategy. That's why the decision to remain with the chairperson, who is executive, I believe, in my view, is still a correct one, so that you can have a person who is going to continuously agitate for youth development right across the board. But like I said earlier on, it's possible for you to do something right with all the good intentions, but there are unintended consequences of every decision. In order to avoid those unintended consequences, you have got to put in place what I call a delegation of authority in order to safeguard yourself and protect the integrity of the institution. Thank you.
Honorable Kanile.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Mr. Ndlela, and welcome. Angel Kanyile, and I'm a member of this committee. Mr. Ndlela, as a current serving board member, can you please tell us how have you given effect to the 5 main principles of good governance, and tell us what would you do to enhance the NYDA adherence to the principles of good governance? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've as the board of directors, we've led our work with the highest level of integrity, befitting of the NYDA board or any other board. If you look on social media, or if you look on just a simple Google search, there's no scandal you're going to find relating to this board of directors. We really have made sure that we're scandal free, and that didn't take effort, colleagues. It took just everyone understanding what we need to do, that we are here to approve the strategy. We work on the strategy, and after approving the strategy, we are sitting in committees, and the committees on a quarterly basis, they look at how we work and whether we are closer or away from our work, and we do our work diligently. We've had to be very accountable. We've had to be very accountable. We've had to be very competent. Sorry, we've had to be very competent, because for you to be able to uphold integrity, you've got to be competent. You've got to be a competent person, and I believe the board, the sixth board that we were approved in the sixth administration, was a board of very eminent young people who had achieved quite a lot by then. I looked around, and I was really one of the least qualified in that board, and they were able to hold the institution responsible. We were very responsible and responsive to young people, and we were able to, in that, increase our level of accountability. When things don't happen right, there was one time where the system was down, our ERP system was down. This must have been in the first year of our board, because I remember we were on oversight work in the province of Gauteng. And a young person approached us and said, you guys, you are saying to us we must apply, and today is the last day, but your website is down. It's easy to check, and we realize it's down. We had to, to be held accountable, to extend the date, and to be able to say, we need to investigate how it happened and how long it's been down, and extend the date by the hours, or by the days. If it were days, it turned out to have been 8 hours, by the 8 hours that had been. So the level of accountability that we have held ourselves to ourselves, each other, and we believe, in terms of the board of directors, if you don't get it right as the board of directors, the culture, the corporate culture in the institution, you can never get it right. That's why when things go wrong, honorable member, and we don't get a clean audit, the first people to say, we are going to put our head on the chopping board, was the board of directors, to say, we have not done what we needed to do, we're going to dock our fees, and then everyone else follows. Obviously, the levels change. If you were sitting behind the desk, you were supposed to produce the age analysis report. There's a different level of consequence to you. But even us, we couldn't just say we relied on what you said. As a result, we're absorbing ourselves. So I do believe that in terms of accountability, in terms of fairness, in terms of transparency, we really have done our work in a way that has been without any question. Now, the question is, can we improve? Of course we can. I do think that if I'm part of the next board, we will have to improve. We will have to find innovative ways, use technology to be able to increase our accessibility of young people. It really helps that young people, when they are frustrated, they can send you an email. It really does. If they can't find you or your email address, they can go onto your social media profiles and DM you. The amount of queries I respond to on my social media, you need to put yourself out there, because you came here and you said you were available, and it's important for you to remain to be accessible to young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sambusi. Honorable Spies. Honorable Peterson.
Thank you so much, Chair. Mr. Ndlela, my question to you today is going to be very short. It's going to be about substance abuse. So the question reads as follows. What impact does substance abuse have on young people in South Africa?
Yeah, it's if only it was as simple as read out. Yeah, it was. Look, colleagues. I spoke earlier about something called the democratic dividend, which really is about your young people are the majority of your population, and as such, your workforce is going to help you grow your economy. That only works if these young people are employed. That only works if these young people are economically active. Let me not say employed, let me say economically active, because the two are not the same. Now, if these young people are languishing in drug abuse, not only does it reverse the potential of a democratic dividend, it becomes a democratic crisis, because you really now are dealing with the impact of social ills. Becomes a high level of crime, gender-based violence, low levels of skill, in the, a high dropout rate. But I've also often had this conversation with those close to me, that I truly believe that if we are to deal with the impact of drugs and substance abuse, we've got to start at home. For me, a nation is made up of communities, and communities are made up of families. And if in the family unit you are unable to nip it in the bud right there when it starts, then you are going to have significant challenges. We must provide support for child-headed households, because there is no one who is old enough to be able to provide that kind of support and that kind of wisdom to the young ones. We must provide that support because they are the vulnerable ones. But we must also urge those families where parents exist, for parents to parent, for parents not to say, no, government decided that young people have rights, as a result we are now hands-free. Which is why it's important, as part of my other life, we ran a program in our community, Mlazi, where we went into households and said to, we had gone to the Cancer Association, we had gotten early indication signs of behavioral changes in a person who's now into substance abuse. We take this pamphlet in this other church I go to, honorable members. We take this pamphlet and we say to the person, to the old person, the mother, we find their mother we're from this organization, we are raising awareness about drugs. But this pamphlet tells you about early warning signs of how behaviorally a person changes who's now into drugs. And then there are numbers here of a rehab, a social worker, and all those things. But what that does is it allows a parent who sees these behavioral changes to then call for help. Because praying is good. It's good. Our mothers pray when we stress them and whatnot. But then after prayer, then what? It's important for them to then call this number and seek for help. Because this thing of drug abuse, it really will be curtailed at a home level, at a family level. Because this chasing drug lords and whatnot, if you stop drug lords from getting supply, if you stop them from getting customers, then you won't even have to chase them. They will leave because they don't have customers. Now, instead of trying to stop them, just stop the customers from being customers. And that is my humble view. And I do believe it may not be a silver bullet, but I do believe that if you can stop the customers from being customers, then the drug lords will have nowhere to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Spees.
I don't know exactly where we are in the questions. There's a question we skipped, but it's okay. Okay. So I want to ask, and that's my question, Mr. Ndlela, good afternoon. I mustn't assume because you are on the board, when we've seen you, that I mustn't introduce myself, so let me be orderly and introduce myself. I'm Eleanor Spies and I'm a member of this committee. You've given us a lot of perspective by virtue of you being a board member, of serving on the board. And the work of the board primarily is obviously working with one of the most vulnerable groups in the country, and most important groups is the youth. And one, in executing your job or your responsibilities as board members, or the result is that we want you to, as a board, have results that really transforms the lives of young people. And importantly is for a board to be able to do self-introspection, to look at their activities and how they conduct themselves. And my question is then to you, what do you view as the common mistakes that boards make?
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. It's a very difficult question because it sounds like a performance appraisal. But what normally happens is, like I said, you meet someone, you don't know them, you were interviewed along them, here, and you didn't even see them. I've only seen two people, the lady who just left here and the gentleman who's going to come, those are the only two people I've seen. But as we work along, we work together, we get an appreciation of how good-hearted and how committed a person is to youth development. You cannot help but grow a friendship out of that. You build a relationship with that person because you see in them what you see in yourself, this passion and this fire that you have, you see in this person. Now, it's natural for people that work together to be close to one another. But the difficulty then comes when you disagree with the person. You disagree with the person, and most boards then collapse at the point of, but I hold this view, but I'm still your friend. I just hold this view, and it's important in how you engage is that right from the chairperson, you must create a culture of, if you have an issue about me, don't allow me to hear it from Honorable Loans that you said you have an issue with me. If you have an issue with me, come to me, because my doors are open. I will listen to you. And when I am critical of you as my superior, you must have the emotional intelligence to know that it comes from a good place and be able to then say, I am grateful for you coming to me with this, even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, but appreciate the fact that I've done it. So a lot of boards, a lot of these things are not written in the King codes. They are not there. But the ability to manage one another should start from the chairperson, who must create an environment where people are free to talk to one another about the issues but don't talk to a third party, because when I hear it from a third party, you're going to make me to be defensive, because I'm going to think I'm being attacked, to say, oh, but these ones, they were caucusing. Why were they caucusing about me? So it's important to manage it in that way at an interpersonal relationship and be able to say, look, we remain colleagues and friends, but we just don't agree on this issue. So if you are able to deal with that, you are able to deal with the personal things. And then from an institutional point of view, you just need strong charters, strong committee charters. You make sure that there are no cross functions. You don't have a committee that does the work of the other committee, so you are able to know, everyone knows, this is my lane, I'm working on my lane, and that's it. That way you are going to minimize any forms of, and if you hear that someone was gossiping about you, the first person you must call is that person who was gossiping about you. And then you say, yeah, what were you saying? So, and then when they say, I didn't say that, you patch in the other one who told you and say, okay, we are now speaking all together. This one said this. That way you are able to avoid rumors and all these things, which is why, as this board of directors, we really have never had skirmishes, people fighting, because we were just matured enough to confront one another. We disagreed, colleagues, many, many times. But we were able to rise above that and understand that it is about youth development, and in the broader scheme, it's about us trying to move young people forward. Thank you.
Yeah, before I get there, Mr. Ndlela, I hope I got your clan names correctly. Yes, Sompisi, Mpemba. I don't want to be...
No, that is correct, ma'am. Yeah, that is correct, and it's quite impressive.
Thank you. No, I wanted to say, the problem that we often got as a portfolio committee, and you have appeared before us, you come, you tell us the NYDA is doing well, and then when we question you, for example, you say, well, remember, we're doing what we can within our budget constraints. Now, there's often this dissidence between what we think you should be doing and what you are actually doing. For example, I'm thinking back on one of those last presentations where we saw you spending the money on the overseas trips, as an example. So my question really is, considering that we are not seeing movement in terms of the youth unemployment crisis, we are not really seeing movement in terms of the many ills, social ills that young people are facing. And then on the other hand, you are saying, but remember, Chair, the NYDA is now stronger. But my question really is, if you had to be given an opportunity again, what is probably the 4 most important things that you would want to prioritize to see a more robust, more successful, more visible NYDA that serves the needs of all young people? You might have touched on some of it, but a new vision, because it's a new administration, we're looking for new candidates to serve on a new board. What would be a new vision for the NYDA to make it stronger, better, more credible and accessible?
Thank you, Chair. I think partnerships, in one word, partnerships. We have got to increase our partnerships with government organizations using the intergovernmental relations framework that helps you in dealing with that. Because I truly believe that unless you are able to improve your educational outcomes at a basic education level, the challenges you have today are guaranteed in the future. So you've got to be able to, just at a basic education level, improve your outcomes. But education for me doesn't start at school. For me, education starts at home. You know, how you see your father, your mother, your grandmother, or whoever. I grew up seeing my mother, Etunga. you know, using a sewing machine to make clothes or whatever and sell that to people. The ability for me to see that at home, that it's possible to enterprise, made it possible for me many, many years later when working for an organization that was doing peace keeping and peace building on the African continent, not the Rwanda style, the other one. It was possible for me to leave and start a business, you know, because I had seen it at home. So that kind of family setup, that kind of family support, you know, there are many young people with talents. We grew up during our time when you wanted to be a singer, your mother would tell you, but what do you mean? You know, but the world has changed. You've got to be able to have those supports. So collaborations with basic education, collaboration with social development, you know, because there is where, even with higher education, because they are responsible for the budgeting of career guidance. It's with them. Yes, we're supposed to partner with them, but the money lies with them. So you've got to be able to increase collaboration with government departments to help them do what is called youth mainstreaming, which is really about making sure that the ideas and the needs of young people are infused right from the initiation of the project. When they are thinking about the project, I mean, today the buzzwords is the government has put in a lot of money on infrastructure development, and we've got to have the NYDA has got to engage with the ministries responsible for that to make sure that from a state procurement view, you are able to cater for young people, because the Preferential Procurement Framework Act as it is, based on price, cannot work for young people. You cannot open opportunities there. So the biggest buyer of goods and services in this economy buys in a way that does not allow young people to play a role. Let me make an example, Honorable Member. You are run a construction company, you are a 1GB. You've just opened your company, and you get a tender from a municipality. A tender document expects you to have references of the work that you have done. Where? How will I find that reference? So it is that kind of sensitivity engagement that you've got to have with all these structures to say, guys, do you realize that when you make this requirement, you are excluding this group of people? So I would say that's the one. The number two is you have to engage with the private sector. They have got to see value in investing in this economy, because outside that, we are sitting on a time bomb, and this time bomb once exploded in July 2021. We don't want it to explode again, you know. So you've got to be able to make sure that you increase, you know. There are engagements that we're having now with the JSE listed companies through the JSE, the structure, but you've got to increase those, and you've got to look at the other levers of power that put pressure to capital to be able to say, guys, when you meet that NYDA, don't think you are just meeting young stars, you know. You really are meeting people who are representing, because they are on the ground, they know where the issues are. So for me, it really would be collaboration, it really would be partnerships, because until you can expand your kitty, you really are going to fund as many young people as your kitty allows. And maybe through you just to respond to this thing of international trips, just so that it's not left untouched. There is a lot of value attached to recognizing the fact that there are things you know you don't know, that other people elsewhere know. There are things, and in those things, you've got to travel to those places in order for you to be able to come back and say, like we reported in this committee before, I think we were sitting in the other building, that some of the successes that came from our Singapore trip is that there are young people in this country who are in the fashion industry, whose clothes are now available on the Shein global platform, because the company Shein is headquartered there. So as part of our and those young people, whether they end up saying it or not, but the truth is their market has exponentially increased. And you wouldn't have been able to make that engagement without you opening yourself up there and going there. We go to Brazil every year in order to take our postgraduates who are in agriculture to go, because Brazil has a similar agricultural, climate to ours, to go and learn new techniques, because food security is important to young people more than anyone else, because the day you can't feed your society is the day you will realize that nothing that is written in the law makes sense to anyone who is hungry. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to allow for those 3 hands only. Oh. I can't say no to you, honourable members. Honourable Lonzi, followed by Honourable Mabel, Honourable Kleklape afterwards, and then Mama Shabango, and then we'll wrap up.
What are your clan names, Chair? I heard you ask the.
It's Shenge, for sure.
No, I'm playing, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. My name
Just
is.
before, what was the time allocation for this candidate? I didn't hear you say.
No, we had the same time allocation, but remember he's a current sitting member of the board, so there is extra time to interrogate him. But I will, I think, follow-up questions. Do you have to fly to catch?
No, it's okay, Chair.
Or is he running?
I'm at your disposal. I don't
Are you going to miss your flight? Okay.
I was actually preparing for another round of follow-up questions.
Oh, but then you must be honest, honourable member, that's where you're going.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Honourable Lonzi.
No, thanks, Chair. My name is Sihle Lonzi, member of the Portfolio Committee deployed by the Economic Freedom Fighters. I've just got one question, because you made a nice scenario about if you've got 10 young people, chances are you're going to fund 3. Well, not that that's how it happens, but you'll fund 3, then the 7 are not going to be happy. And I think that's economics, limited resources for endless demands. So it triggered me to ask, can you give me, because you're a current board member, can you give me 3 businesses or initiatives of young people that are sustainable, that are currently working and functioning as a result of assistance that they received from this past term of the NYDA? You don't have to speak too much to them. You can just give the names and a short explanation, and then I'm happy with that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honourable member. Yes, and I will give you these 3, and then say to you, honourable member, the next time we go to KZN, because I think the committee's visit, whether I'm still there or not, is going to be in KZN. That is practically what happens throughout the day. We take you to, for instance, there's a young man who runs a coffee business based in KZN. I don't think we will take you to him again, because we took the last portfolio committee. We must now show you other people, He was the last person to be seen by the last portfolio committee. He runs a coffee business on Florida Road. He was assisted by the NYDA. So I don't know the name of the business. I know where it is, and I know that, I wouldn't know the names, honourable member, because I'm not operational, all we do is we make sure that if there's a target to be met, we're able to know, and we do our oversight even outside of the committee. So that's why I can tell you this person is there and this person is there. For instance, now we went to portfolio, or Chair, I don't know if I should allow.
Sorry, Chair, because I did it with other candidates as well, so that when I'm taking notes, I don't disadvantage the candidates. I just want the names. So you're saying you don't know any 3 names of businesses or companies. You don't have to go through the details. It's okay. You can just say to me, there is this company, it's called this, we have assisted, it's currently functioning. Number 2, just the names, or you don't know them.
No, Chair, it's through you, Chair. I wish to say this to you. If I did, it would be improper. It would be improper for me to know the names of the people that have been assisted, because when we do oversight, we go to the person. And when we get reports and we get reported to, we are getting reported against the target. So it would be improper. The next question, if I were to answer that, the next question would be, Konje, how do you know these names?
No, I'm not asking if you have a relationship with them. I'm saying it's a success story to say, look, there's some company that was doing bicycles. It's called Eco Bicycles. I'm not saying do you know the owners. I'm saying do you have 3 success stories of the board? Just the name of the company, not that they are your friends or you are related to them. If you don't know, you can just say you don't know,
Yes.
and then it's not an issue.
Yes, Chair, but thank you, Honourable Member. But Honourable Lords, I'm getting to that. Like I'm saying to, there's a waste management company stationed in Khayelitsha. We saw them this January. He's a young man who was part of our program. He actually was part of our volunteer program. And then he decided to start a waste management company. We have supported him. We've recently helped him to go to Department of Environmental Affairs. And then the second one is there is another company that does printing services. They're also based in Khayelitsha. We also saw them in January as well. But I want to mention this one from Mpumalanga. We saw him last year, Chair. We saw him last year, and I'm giving you stories because these are I'm able to follow up with the actual names, or eco tourism, whatever the case may
Chair,
be.
if you don't know the names, my brother, you can just say you don't know. Because that's the question I'm asking, Chair. I'm not asking about the stories. I'm asking about 3 company names that he knows that his current board assisted. If he doesn't know, he can just say, look, I don't know it off the top of my head.
But he's just said,
Maybe
he's
I'll
told
send
you
it.
that. He said he doesn't have the
He doesn't know.
information.
Then I don't want to hear the stories.
And he explained why he doesn't have the information.
Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Mabel.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ms. Ndlela, youth unemployment went from 46% in 2021 to 55% in 2025. Would you agree with me that your term of office, your term of office as the board member, the conditions of young people actually became worse under your term in terms of impact? And what I want to know, what is it that you are coming with that is different from what you were doing, that will change the lives of the young people in this country in terms of job opportunities and employment? What is it?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair, with the greatest of respect, Honourable Member, your numbers are not correct. They are not correct because the latest labor quarterly survey indicates a drop in unemployment, and this is for the last quarter of 2024. Now being February, it's not possible for us to have 2025 numbers. But that does not mean I am sitting here saying the lives of young people have gotten better, because I'm a young person myself. I know that things have not gotten better. If they have marginally gotten better for a marginal group of young people. So I'm not here defending because I am saying we have done extraordinarily well. And if I believed that we had done extraordinarily well, I wouldn't have availed myself. I'm availing myself because I believe there's still work to be done. And I believe that there's a lot of foundation that has been laid. We have created enough confidence in the public service for us as the institution now to be in partnerships with majority of the sector education and training authorities who are able to help us augment our resources. But we want to do more. So I want to say, in short, I've availed myself because I thought the job was not done. If I thought the job was done, I would have stayed at home and I wouldn't have availed myself. But that does not mean, Honourable Member, that I am saying I agree to these numbers, because these numbers are not correct. Thank you.
My question is not answered. the
No,
one
Honourable
that,
Member, I'm
what
not
is
going
it
to
that-
allow follow-ups on follow-ups. We will be here for we're already over time. We can't, there's two more members. Sorry, Honourable Mabel.
But it's not answered, Chair.
Which
I ask, what is it that is new? He'll be bringing or he's coming with to change the lives.
He articulated
young
it
people.
earlier when he spoke about partnerships that he would want to engaging with private sector. He did articulate his vision of what will be new. Honourable members, are we okay in terms of our interactions for this afternoon? Okay. Ms. Ndlela Sompisi, thank you so much for being... It's Sompisi or Mpemba? PC.
Are we
Yes.
done, Chair?
Do you want? I'm going to ask him to make closing remarks.
Before,
Dr.
I just
Lekgabe.
wanted one question. We're going to austerity measures. We have challenges with the budget. So the organization is not going to get more money or significantly more money. How do we become resourceful with what we have? I went to your last offices in a very expensive area, expensive part. You are moving to Center. Would there be room for more affordable offices so that you can then mobilize the resources to open the branches in the other 7 areas? If you go to a modest area and you reduce your costs of over expenses, but it's also, we're trying to serve poor youth, but we're living in Center. I just want your...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think I'm going to couple it with my closing remarks, Chair. I want to say that the offices that we had were significantly pricier than the ones we have. We've recorded a saving on that, which is what the benefit of going out on the market is, because if you've been locked on a lease for a long time, through increases, you end up paying more than, far higher than the market rate. So when you go on a fresh open for proposal or open for quotations, whatever the case may be, you inevitably make a saving. So we are making a saving, and I think at the next sitting where we report, it's easy for that to be done, because we'll be doing our end of the financial year. You'll realize where the saving is being made. And it's important for colleagues not to confuse the head offices with the district offices and the service centers, because where the head office is, it shouldn't really be an office that determines where other offices are, because what is important where service delivery happens in the agency is right at the coalface. And we have, and it was important for us engaging with labor, as if you change locations. Remember, I spoke earlier on about a stakeholder model. You can't drastically change, because what you are going to do, you are going to disturb the routine of people who have responsibilities, and they have placed their lives right around where you are located. So as part of the engagement with labor, it was important for the requirement to say within a 5-kilometer radius, and that 5-kilometer radius was adhered to, in order to allow for as minimal disruption to the staff that work there as possible. Now, having said that, Honourable Member, it does not take away from the point that you made, that we need to be able to do more to become more accessible to young people, not only in the physical way. Like I had explained earlier on, it's difficult for us to spend money to be more accessible in the physical way, because you are going to have less for that. But even our availability insofar as engagement on social media, engagement with young people, making ourselves out there in order for us to pass on the information, because the difference really is about access to information, and the young people have got to be able to access enough information for them to help themselves, for them to be able to better their businesses. Those who are thinking of starting, to start their businesses. That is what is important. And then, Chair, in closing, I'd like to appreciate the opportunity. This is probably the longest I have spoken in this room. I normally sit here and support the chair and answer 2 or 3 questions. I want to appreciate the opportunity to be interviewed. I really do not take it lightly, and those that I represent do so not take it lightly as well. And I wish you all the best, colleagues. And maybe where I would have come across as offensive, I do wish to apologize to anyone if I did. My apologies both here and at home, because I know it's live. My apologies, but this is where my views extend, and I'm happy to be engaged on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndlela. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us, and thank you for sharing your insights and your experience so far at the NYDA. I just wanted to say that, in fact, we are looking here at the report of the last oversight visit to KZN, and the details of the coffee shop and the name of the coffee shop that you mentioned is in this oversight report. And you are quite right, we are coming to KZN at the end of March, and it will be a great opportunity for us then to see your offices, to see some of the projects that you fund and support as the NYDA. But thank you so much for making
Thank you,
yourself...
Chair. Can I ask that this name be given to Honorable Lawrence, please? He really needs this name. Can I please ask? I beg of you.
Okay, for the record, it's Sequel Coffee Shop in Florida Road, Morningside. That's the one. No, but it was, at least it is in the report. We'll make the report available to him. So I wanted to say thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your insights with us and your vision for a stronger, more robust NYDA. We wish you well with your business and your travels back to KZN. From here, the committee has only got 2 more candidates that we need to interview. From there, next week we will deliberate on the candidates, and we will then compile a report for the President of the Republic and for the National Assembly. Honourable Speaks. And then we will hopefully have the President indicate to us soon which 7 candidates he will pick to serve on a new NYDA board. But thank you so much for your time again, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.